What's up, everybody? It's a Blue Drake, and today we're talking about The Division, because that's what's hot right now. Okay, so The Division. Hopefully you know about this game. Maybe you don't. I have no idea. It's a new game from Ubisoft, from the Tom Clancy series, and it essentially is a kind of like Spec Ops version of a post-apocalyptic game where you know everything's gone to shit, but everybody you're playing as is like this super legit team of highly trained warriors. I mean, the premise is pretty legit. I mean, it feels cool. The aesthetic is interesting. I mean, it looks kind of like, I don't know why I get this feel from it, but it kind of reminds me of Patriots, and I don't know why it reminds me of Patriots, especially since that game never came out. But that's kind of like the feel I'm getting from it for some reason. So as you can see, here's some screenshots. Game looks gorgeous. A very, very, very pretty game. And the reason we're talking about this today is I actually had an opportunity to play it. Not very recently. The last time I played it was at an event about 6 months ago. 5-6 months ago. I can't remember. I'm sure they had a couple more events since then that I could have attended, but obviously I'm really busy with my kid, so I wasn't able to attend it. But I do want to talk about it. As you can see, there's a lot of Division content coming out right now, and this is because Ubisoft hosts essentially YouTuber events where all the YouTubers can come and they can preview a game. So whenever you see something like this, especially a Ubisoft game, when you see a whole bunch of footage all dropping at the same time, that's because there was an event and everybody got to record The Division essentially at the same time, and there's usually an embargo, so you can't post any footage until a certain day, and then once that day's up, obviously, bam, loads of Division footage. I'm actually going to be attending the Far Cry Primal one tomorrow. I am literally getting on a plane tonight, and I'm going to be flying all the way out there, and hopefully I'll have some footage up. I don't remember when the embargo is. It's like a couple weeks after the event, but that's just to give you an idea of why all this stuff happens at once. So there's a whole bunch of Division hype now because of that. So let's talk about The Division. Let's talk about the game as I experienced it. I haven't played it in a while. I'm sure it's updated, but I want to give you my initial impression and what I'm expecting from this game. As always, I'm going to be really brutally honest. I do love working with Ubisoft from time to time. I mean, it's counter to what most people think. They really are a great group of people, at least the people I work with. They're very genuine, they're very sincere, and they just want to give you an opportunity to see their game. They're very open to criticism, which is, you know, I'm very appreciative of. So with that said, let's talk about The Division. So The Division, I'm going to say straight out of the box, when I played it the last time, it was one of those games that I personally was not very impressed with. Now, that's not to say nobody's going to like this game, but it definitely wasn't my kind of game. And being that it wasn't my kind of game, I don't think it's going to be your kind of game either if you watch this channel. And I hope you trust me. Like, that's the biggest thing. I hope you trust me because, like I said, Siege. I loved Siege. I have been rooting from Siege from the beginning. I think Siege was an incredibly made game. I think it has a couple problems, particularly with, like, server hosting and matchmaking and stuff like that. But for the most part, Siege is a really great, fine-tuned game. And another game that I'm going to be rooting for is For Honor, the medieval game that Ubisoft is coming out with. I think that's going to be a fantastic game. I'm also very interested in Wildlands, but I have not seen or played Wildlands enough to really understand if it's going to live up to the hype. But The Division I have played. And I'm going to tell you some things about The Division in terms of gameplay. Obviously, it looks great. You know, it's a fantastic, beautiful game. What game isn't nowadays? Everything's going to be pushing that bar. You know, it's really, really pretty. But I'm not interested in how the game looks. You know, I'm interested to see what it does with itself. How does it play? How does it feel? And The Division feels... It feels very superficial. That's probably one of the best ways to explain it. The gunplay, the combat feels not very satisfying. And that's not to say that it... And I say that it it feels superficial. That's not to say that it doesn't have depth, you know, because I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, well, you can have all these different types of weapons and you can do all these different types of things. And that's true, but that doesn't make it feel good. Whereas in Siege, you know, you have bullets coming through walls and the gunplay feels very tight and satisfying. And when you have a victory, you have a great victory. Whereas playing The Division, I always felt frustrated with the controls. Whenever I died or whenever I killed somebody, it didn't really feel genuine. It just kind of felt like, oh, well, you know, I just got shot randomly. There's nothing I could have done about it. It didn't feel like my fault. Or when I killed somebody, it didn't feel like, oh, I killed that guy. It was just like, oh, he was just in front of my gun, you know? And the reason that is I wish maybe we can look at some of this footage here. It relies a lot on these cover mechanics. And I'm going to say this. I think The Division relies too much on cover mechanics. It relies so much on cover mechanics that even though you're taking cover and it looks really cool, it just feels so bland. When you are not in cover, you're handicapped, not from getting shot at. And here, I'm going to say this very, because everybody's like, oh, of course you're going to be handicapped when you're not in cover. When I played The Division, if you are not in cover, and you can see it here, you're not able to change your stance outside of cover. Or at least that's how it was for me when I last played this game. And from all the footage that I've been seeing, even though I wasn't able to attend the last event, it looks like you still can't change your stance. It looks like you're still just kind of running around, and you're just kind of spraying, and then you get into cover, and then you just kind of stick in cover, and then you just kind of like shoot around corners in third-person camera, which is just it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't appeal to me. Also, it moves. It moves really fast for something that you'd think would be a tactical shooter. That's the one thing. And this is where I'm going to stop, and I'm going to say this game is getting to the point where it's so outside my kind of preferred game type that the things I'm going to start saying and the criticism I'm going to have is almost not going to make any sense to the people who are going to enjoy this game, because I think the people who are going to enjoy this game aren't going to be people from this community. I think the people from this community, like, you might play it a little bit and you're like, oh, that's cool, and then you're just gonna not be into it for very long. Like, it's not gonna be fun anymore after a first couple days playing it or whatever. The camera feels really clunky. It doesn't feel like you're really in control. The cover mechanics are really clunky. It feels like you're just kind of too attached to cover. And you can see, you know, like people just rolling around and shit like that. None of the movement feels fine-tuned. I don't know if you guys ever played, like, Tomb Raider. You ever play Tomb Raider and you, like, press the jump button and then she, like, gets stuck in, like, jumping way too far and you can't stop it? That's, like, when I played this game, that's, like, the entire, like, not just jumping, like, just everything. It's how the cover feels. It's how moving feels. It's how a lot feels, and a lot of the game feels, and that doesn't gel really well with me. Okay, so that's the first thing. You know, movement, the responsiveness, how fine-tuned the controls are. That's one thing that I wasn't very impressed with. The other thing I wasn't very impressed with was just the HUD saturation. Like, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against having a heads-up display in a game. You know, all games, maybe not all games. I mean, it would be nice to have a game one day that, you know, has no HUD but still lets you, you know, play the game without feeling handicapped. But this game, it just takes HUD to the max. Like, damn, there's never a moment where there's just something in front of your face. It gets to that point where, like, right here, look at this. It gets to that point where it doesn't feel like you're shooting at people. It feels like you're shooting at numbers. and I hate that. It's like why even have a game anymore? Like why even have all of this stuff? Why put all of the effort into having all of these pretty environments? Like why not just have a bunch of numbers on the screen that float around and you shoot at them? And that's what it is. You can't you rarely ever see the people you're shooting at. If you do see them, you're gonna see like a big blotchy red outline or like this big like health bar. Look at that. You can't even see him. I'm in HD right now. You can't even see that guy. And it doesn't feel genuine. It feels really superficial. And that's the best way to explain it, and again, like I said, when I say superficial, look, yeah, he's got guns. He's probably got all sorts of different attachments. Look at all this different cover. I mean, look at all the different places. I mean, look at all the cover you can take, but all the cover is the exact same height, and it's put in a very specific place so you can do the same goddamn, like, crouching behind cover animation everywhere. So, yeah, maybe you can use some kind of strategy to get around and stuff, but it doesn't make it feel any better. It just feels bland. Sucks. And I'm sorry, because I know a bunch of people always, because that's the thing, I always talk, I like talking to the Ubisoft developers, and I know that they put a lot of work into their games and that they have a lot of love for their art. And while I respect that, I absolutely respect what they do, but at the same time, I have to be honest in the end product. And it's a shame, it's a shame, really, and I really don't like making people angry, like, oh no, we worked so hard on this. I know you did, and I'm sorry. I wish that I could praise your game. And it's the same with like Siege. I loved Siege. For Honor, I love For Honor so far. And I think those are going to be really, really good, satisfying games, and I will fucking sing those praises. And I hope that people know when there is a game that I'm going to sing its praises, that's genuine, and that promotion and that review and that honesty is going to be so much more genuine because people are going to believe what I'm saying. But that's how I felt about The Division. Another thing that I didn't realize about The Division, and I'm not entirely sure if this is still true, but everybody had this idea that The Division was going to be like this giant MMO. This massively multiplayer game where you can kind of go anywhere and like fight players and stuff like that. From what I've seen, and I gotta tell you, it's kind of hard to like get the broadest scope of this game. From what I've seen, that's not entirely the case. It seems like the vast majority of the world is a forced co-op world. As in, like, it's not like, oh, everybody's wandering around the city, and if you bump into somebody, oh, you get to fight them, but the rest of the time you're going to be, fighting AI. What it is right now they're in a co-op game. Like, this is a co-op game. And it might get to a point where they can load into a specific zone that is player-based, or they can go to a specific place that is player-based, but it's not like you're just going to be surviving and randomly bumping into players here and there. It's going to be a very structured kind of like system, like, oh, okay, you've gotten through this, and this place. Now you have the option to fight players. Now, again, that's actually not something I'm entirely sure about. That's just what I've heard, and that's what I saw the last time I played this game. The last time I played this game, like, you could be in a co-op area where you could fight with other people, and then if you wanted to, you could, run into, like, this PvP, like, black zone, and then you could fight other players. But again, it didn't feel genuine. It just felt kind of like, okay, well, I guess I'll just join this little player area now. And then you just kind of like shot at each other for a while, and you did a couple like, typical objectives that didn't really do anything. They were just kind of there. And then you left. And that was kind of, I don't know, it just didn't really. I'm waiting to see, because when I last talked to the developers, that was the biggest thing I told them. I was like, man, you guys really need to put crouching in here. Like the ability to crouch or like prone or anything. But you can't. You can't. In fact, you know what it kind of feels like? It feels like Watch Dogs. It's almost like they took Watch Dogs and they just kind of threw it in a Tom Clancy game, which is weird. Like, I kind of understand why you did that, I guess. Like, you've got Watch Dogs, I guess, and that's kind of like a successful. I mean, not really. I mean, it's kind of a when I say successful, I mean not necessarily that Watch Dogs was successful itself, but like that whole idea, the whole open world kind of like GTA style gameplay. And the only thing that made Watch Dogs good was that, it was really open world. You could do whatever the hell you want. Granted, it was kind of clunky and it wasn't the best game in the world, but at least it had that open world feel. It's like they took all the stuff that wasn't good about Watch Dogs, like all the stuff that like just didn't make Watch Dogs good. Like, not that it was bad. It was just like when you think of Watch Dogs and like the reason to play Watch Dogs, you don't think of like, oh my gosh, the gunplay in Watch Dogs was so good. Like, it wasn't. Or like, oh my gosh, like the movement or like cover mechanics and whatever in Watch Dogs was so good. It really wasn't. I mean, it felt really generic and it felt really like just kind of copy and paste. That's kind of what this feels like. And you can kind of get that, like, I mean, I don't know if you can see, is he going to crouch? I mean, again, like, I don't think it's possible. See, he goes into cover and you go into that same kind of cover animation and all the cover places are exactly the same size and they're very specifically placed so you can get behind cover with the same animation. See, like that. You can't prone. You can't crouch or do any other stance unless you are in cover, which not only just kind of feels superficial, and I love that word today, superficial, I don't know why, but there's a couple things about that. Not only does not being able to change your stance outside of cover feel frustrating, like not only is that kind of obnoxious, but it has like serious gameplay problems. Like, so for instance, right now, unless he is in cover, unless he literally attaches himself to that cover, it is physically impossible for him to crouch. See, like right here, all those guys coming out there and they're trying to shoot at him. If he wants to use this as cover, if he wants to crouch, he has to get right up on there. He has to attach himself to cover, which is really nonsensical because sometimes, it's important to change your stance so you can take cover without being like just right up on the right on the fucking thing. Like sometimes like right now, if he could just crouch and not be behind that, he could still take cover from this fire, but maybe be able to back away, to behind him to another piece of cover or something like that. Maybe he doesn't want to get attached to that cover. And stuff like that is just really frustrating. Oh, and see right there, that's another thing. I wanted to show you like the clunky. Did you see that? He comes up here, and this kind of goes back with the movement is really, really clunky. And the whole like Tomb Raider thing. So he's coming up here and he's probably like, oh my god, I need to take cover. Presses the wrong button. What happens when he presses the wrong button? Now he's locked into this whole climb on top of the fucking cover animation and he's getting pounded. Like that stuff. Really frustrating. Really frustrating. It's so frustrating. And it just does not make for good gameplay. It just really doesn't. And I could talk about all sorts of other things, like the numbers, like you're just shooting at numbers. That's all this is. Or like the HUD. And stuff like that is more preferential. It's like, okay, maybe you like a bunch of HUD. Maybe you like XP and all the numbers. That's fine. I can understand that. It's just a difference of opinion. The stuff that I don't think is a difference of opinion is the control mechanics. I think that is just stuff that could be straight up better. I think you could give your players a much less rigid form of movement. I feel like they could be they could have a lot more like I don't know what the word, like fundamental movement mechanics, like just crouch, prone, standing. You don't actually have to have a system that attaches players to cover. They can just take cover themselves. They can just, they could just crouch behind it or something like that. There's actually a couple games that did cover really, really well. I can't remember exactly which one was which. I think it was Splinter Cell. One of the Splinter Cell ones was like you could get in cover and you could blind fire, but it never just attached you to a wall. I think it was like Conspiracy or whatever. I could be wrong. I remember, well, let's just ignore all that. You can do cover in a way that just doesn't attach you to a wall. You can do cover in a way that doesn't have preset animations for pressing A to like vault over or like pressing B to like crouch behind cover. Like just give them a jump button, give them a crouch button, give them a prone button, and then just make it contextual. So instead of them actually having to press A to get into cover, if they just crouch next to cover, they automatically go into kind of like this animation that lets them blind fire over stuff. Little things like that. I don't know. That's what I think would make a game really good. But you can see right here, just all the when you want to vault over, like all the little contextual menus are all stuck. I don't know. That's pretty much. Oh, are you dead? I don't really know. So let's look at a couple other things and let's see if I have any. Let me wrap this up right here. That's pretty much the meat of what I have to say about this game. Outside of that, I'm sure they're gonna have a whole sort of weapon modification and all sorts of other stuff that I'm sure will be interesting and fun. Maybe, I don't really know. Interested to see how they do multiplayer. Interested to see if there's gonna be the same multiplayer problems that they had in Siege. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be solid. But I'm still interested to see that. Let's just skip around here and we'll see if I have anything else to say. I mean, hopefully you can watch this gameplay now and you can just see all the things that I've pointed out. The really, really rigid cover mechanics, the really weird kind of like movement, HUD-up display being way too much. Like, just calm down with the heads up. I mean, I think the reason they're doing this is because they're like, oh, the heads up display is like in game because you can like see, it's like 3-dimensional heads up display, and I think everybody's getting way too carried away with that. Like, oh wow, we've done heads up display in this cool new way. Let's beat you over the head with it. Like, it's like, no, it doesn't make it better. Like, it's still a heads up display. It's still in my face. It still gets in the way of me enjoying the game. Like, I'm not here to play freaking Number Crunch the shooter. Like, I'm here to play a shooter. Like, I want, there's no reason to have all these really cool art assets and have this really cool feel and this aesthetic when you're just gonna like water it down with all of these generic things that you see in the same game every fucking other place. Like, God, it's just, nobody cares. It's distracting. It's and it's not just distracting, it just kind of kills the mood, in my opinion. Again, that's the thing. Like, that's the biggest thing I want you to take away from this. Is this going to be a bad game? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it will be. I mean, I have a feeling this has the potential of getting a lot of people angry for no reason. That's the annoying thing. It's like, how people get, like, they get all pissed off because a game's not good. Like, somehow, like, Ubisoft is obligated to make all their games like a fucking masterpiece. So that's the thing. Like, I don't think you should get mad if this game sucks. I think this game has the potential to be one of those games that everybody talks shit about and like gets really mad over, like kind of like Watch Dogs or something like that, or I don't know, any other game that everybody gets pissed off about that Ubisoft puts out. But I don't know. I'm sure some people will enjoy it, maybe, but it's not really the kind of game that my community is going to enjoy. It may not be the game that you're going to enjoy, and I'm going to say it probably isn't going to be the game that you're going to enjoy. If you enjoy Rainbow Six Siege, I don't think you're going to like this game. I think it's just you're going to get frustrated with it. It's going to feel really just kind of like bland, and you're going to get over it like really soon. The only thing that would maybe have longevity to this game, whereas opposed to like Rainbow Six Siege, where like the gameplay is really solid, Rainbow Six Siege gameplay awesome, everything should be like that, but it only has like what, 5 maps, 6 maps maybe. So that's the biggest thing going for the Division. What it lacks in gameplay, perhaps it will make up for in content and like playtime. Like, maybe it'll feel bland, but it'll feel bland for like way longer, which I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good thing. But you'll be able to play for longer and maybe see more areas and have a little bit more stuff to do. But I don't know. The weird thing, what the really weird thing is? The fact that they have this really bad control scheme, but they almost had the exact same kind of aesthetic. Aesthetic and fucking superficial are just like my favorite words lately. They did Ghost Recon Phantoms, and I know not very many people like Ghost Recon Phantoms because it's free to play. I actually really like Ghost Recon Phantoms. I think it could have used a lot more content. And their like store mechanic. Like, Ubisoft is not very good at making free to play games. I mean, they can make good games, but they haven't really nailed down the free to play mechanic. But what was I the Ghost Recon Phantoms, the control scheme for that was fantastic. It was really good. And I don't understand why they can't just adopt from that. I don't know why they can be like, oh, Ghost Recon Phantoms, that worked really well. I'm not even sure, is that in like the same engine? I don't really know how Ubisoft, I'd have to look into that. I don't really know what engine they're using. Is it the same? Because that's the biggest thing, is maybe Ubisoft is like, oh, well, maybe it would be too hard to migrate all of the stuff from Ghost Recon Phantoms into this game. But I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but I feel like the Division is kind of copy and pasted from a couple other games that they've done. And if they're going to do that, why copy and paste from games like Watch Dogs that wasn't that great. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe everybody like loved Watch Dogs way more than I thought. I wasn't a big fan of it. I thought it was okay, kind of. Not really. I didn't really like it at all, actually. In fact, I really hated that game. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, it was okay. It wasn't great. But like, why that? Like, if you're gonna copy a formula, why that formula? Doesn't make any sense. All right, well, that's it. Let me know what you all think. It's been like 30 minutes or so, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But The Division, you're probably gonna be seeing a lot from it now. It's kind of in its release cycle. Ubisoft is starting to pump up, you know, the new media outreach and the advertisement. It's going to get into that zone where you're just going to start seeing it a lot more. So hopefully you can get something out of this video just so you can understand what this is about, and you can understand how much you're going to be interested in buying it. I personally probably won't be playing it, but I might. I don't know. I might. I might do some videos on it, and we'll see. Maybe I'll be blown away. Maybe I'll be like, oh, you know, maybe there's something else about this game that really makes it better or something. Or maybe I'll just cover it because everybody's interested in seeing footage about it. That's my biggest thing, is like, I try to cover games that I like, but sometimes there are just games that people just want to know about, you know, and I should probably just play just so I know about them, just so I can actually have an opinion. So I don't know. Maybe I'll play The Division because of that. Probably not, but maybe. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna be flying to San Francisco tomorrow. Oh my god. It's like a 10-hour flight. It's so painful. It sucks. But I'll be looking at Far Cry Primal, which, you know, is interesting. I'm not really sure. Far Cry Primal is another one of those games where it's like, I don't have high hopes for it, but I still want to experience it just to know what's up. And also because I'm really interested in For Honor, and I'm really interested in Wildlands, and I definitely want to talk to Ubisoft about letting me show you guys those games, because I know those are games that we're going to be really interested in. Those right now, I think those are the hottest titles that Ubisoft is going to put out this year. So yeah, all right, that's it. Talk to you guys next time. I love how I end these videos like 5 times. Like, I have to be like, okay, that's it. 5 minutes later. All right, I'm done. 5 minutes later. Okay, that's over. Okay, for real this time. Bye. Love you.